So we start, right? Like Tinashe and Nokupiwa. Can we start?
Yes, I thought people were still trickling in, but yeah, we
maybe
are
2
already.
minutes already.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
I can see a lot of people are still joining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe another 2 minutes or so, then we start. Yeah, we can start because we have already lost about 6 minutes or so, but we'll try to catch up along the way. Let me start by greeting everyone and say good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining the session from. My name is Tinashe Chavunduka. I work for the Southern African Confederation of Agricultural Unions as a program coordinator responsible for climate resilience in Southern Africa. So welcome to everybody who is joining the session. And I think you will agree with me that this is a very important session given our context in Africa, all the challenges that we are facing regarding climate change. We started some time ago with the general overview of climate change and its impacts in Africa in general, but also its impacts on the agricultural sector, which is our main interest as farmers organizations. So now what we've done is to move a notch higher or maybe cascade it down to a specific subtopic of climate finance. I think you all agree with me again that climate finance is quite very topical these days. And I will read out for you, this is a very public document, the Nairobi Declaration, but I'll just read for you one of the calls to action that was put together by the African heads of state during the Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi. So I'm just going to read one action there that talks to the subject of the day. So what they said as a call for action was that they proposed to establish a new financing architecture that is responsive to Africa's needs, including debt restructuring and relief, including the development of a new global finance charter through the United Nations General Assembly and the core processes by 2025. So the heads of state are calling for a new financing architecture. What that means is that from what is happening currently, the general agreement is that the architecture that is currently there is not talking to Africa's needs. So they're actually taking it to the United Nations to say Africa will call for maybe restructuring of the financing architecture of the climate finances that we are getting from the global north. Then in addition to that, the farmers' constituency globally, I'm participating in the meetings that are putting together another paper. There is another call again to reform the climate financing architecture again. So you can see that the general consensus in Africa is that what is currently obtaining is not talking to Africa's needs. Therefore, there is need for that reformation to make sure that at least Africa can get some kind of support that it needs to deal with the climate change challenges that we are facing on the continent. So today, when we deliberate in this session, let's be mindful of the need for this restructuring that is being called for, and say as farmers organizations, what is our position? What are we suggesting? What are we seeing? And what do we propose as to sort of a new dynamic that is going to talk to the needs of Africa as a continent? So in the interest of time, I'm probably going to run through the program so that we already get to the business of the day. I have just done the welcome remarks on behalf of my organization, which is SACAU. So immediately after this, we thought that it was necessary to have some kind of a teaser. Thanks, Barry, for flighting the program. You can go a little bit down. So the next one will be a session on, we will break into breakout rooms where we are going to deal with those questions that are put there. The first one that we are going to deal with was what has inspired you during the last session. It will be unfortunate for those who did not attend, but for those who attended, what we are just trying to say there is that after the first session on climate change, I've already alluded to the fact that it was a general overview of climate change impacts in general, but also with respect to the agricultural sector. So what we are looking for from you is just to maybe do some review and say, what exactly did you get from that first session? Then after that, we'll say, do you have any new ideas on climate change after the first session? Anything that you thought through, or maybe you discussed with other colleagues? We will also maybe need to you to think around that and say, after that first session, there are some new ideas coming. Then immediately after that, Obedi, my colleague, will come in and introduce the topic and the subtopic. And this will include an overview of climate finance in Africa. That will take us 15 minutes to go through. Then immediately after that, again, we will now have 5 breakout rooms according to our regional farmers organizations, so that we go in and discuss. What we are looking for there is to say, from your regions, what is the current situation regarding climate finance? Are you happy? If you are not happy, what do you propose as solutions to the problems that you are seeing? Obed will handle that. So the questions there to just guide you in the discussions will be, are you aware of any climate finance programs in your region with respect to the agricultural sector, of course? What is the general flow of funds? That balance between mitigation and adaptation? Are you seeing more funds going to mitigation or otherwise? Do we think as farmers organizations have the capacity to access the finance, especially due to the fact that in most cases we are required to respond to call for proposals? Are we capable of putting proposals that are going to appeal to the donors? And if we get the money, are we able to handle the disbursements to our members who are the farmers themselves? And of course, what are the capacity gaps, if any, that will need maybe assistance with to make sure that our capacity is at the level that we can handle that? Then immediately after that, we will have presentations now from the 5 regional blocks or the 5 regional farmers organizations, now talking to what you have discussed in the breakout rooms. Then we'll move on now to a plenary discussion where we'll be just having questions and answers, feedback and recommendations. And then we'll take a small health break of about 10 minutes. And when we come back, we will now have a presentation in general of the summary of all the discussions that we'll have had in plenary, but also in the breakout rooms. Then immediately after that, I'll come in and do some closing remarks. And following on will be the evaluation of the moderation of the meeting. So that is the program for the day, and we hope that we'll manage our time well. I remember last time we didn't have, we did not do well in terms of time. So today we are hoping for better time management. So having said that, this next session that we are going to have now, this is just a teaser. We are not going to have report back after the discussions in the breakout rooms. We just want you to interact and talk to each other. But the guiding questions, as I have already said, will be what has inspired you during the last session? The last session for those who attended. What were the takeaway messages from there But also, in addition to that, we would want you to just discuss if you had any new ideas after the first session. So I will hand over now to Teki or Zuberi to get us into the breakout rooms. And that is supposed to take us 15 minutes. And then immediately after that, we come back into plenary again and proceed. Thank you. Over to Teki or Zuberi.
Thank you, Tinashe. I'm starting now 2 breakout rooms. One is English speaking room and French speaking room. So you will have the chance to select your preferred room and to join. If you have any difficulties and you are still in the plenary, we can support you for 15 minutes, please. We are starting.
Obedi, are you taking the French group? Can I take the English group?
English speaking.
You join the French speaking group.
Let me join the English speaking group, but I will shifting.
Yeah, we have a translator there.
Yes, because in the French speaking group, you need a translator, and sometimes it takes some time to get the point. Yeah.
I think Michael is joining the French group, and he
Wow.
will be translating for us.
Oh, from the French group, yeah. Okay, let me join the French group then. But I will shift. I will come to English speaking. Yeah.
It's okay. Zuberi.
Yes, Lokupiwa.
Yes, can you please assist the participants to join the groups? We still have a lot of them this side. I think I'll be the last one to exit. That will be me, Julian, and you. We still have more.
Okay.
Maybe if all English-speaking participants can just raise their hand, and then we can assign you to the English-speaking groups, and all those who didn't raise their hand can join the French-speaking group. So please, if you speak English, raise your hand. You can either raise your hand here or via the reaction. Okay, thank you. All other participants, please raise your hand if English is your preferred language. Excellent, thank you.
Okay, I'll be joining the English group.
Khalid Singasa, Bozzalano Koine,
But Solano is English.
Jules Sekpe, are you also a English speaker? Now we have Alexis, we have Daniel Adiambola Salau. Alex Mbum.
Selulogo, please join the breakout room for English. I think Julie and the rest, we can put them on the French speaking group. I mean, there's also an interpreter there.
Right.
There is no interpreter normally.
Yeah.
Alexis, we're having only few actually. Alex.
Yeah.
Mike Atangana looks English.
French.
Okay.
So we have left CPM Marina. Mr. or Mrs. CPM Marina, are you French or English speaking? Can you just briefly tell us, please?
Obedi, are you ready? But
Yes,
I see colleagues are still coming back from the
French speaking group, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we can give them
1 minute.
Yeah, but it looks like we are already running late, and
Yes, yes.
I always worry that our time management is not always spot on.
So I can continue.
Yeah, I think you can continue.
Yes, what I want to ask is that on the French speaking group, the translator is ready, because we was having a difficult in our breakout room. So very.
Obedi, in the breakout room, there is no translation, so it's only in the plenary. So please go on.
Thank you. So I'm going to give the overview of the climate finance in Africa, and after that we're going to discuss, as Tinashe has already. I'm going to share my screen. Do you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so I'm going to give you the overview of the climate finance, the status and situation in Africa. So I'm going to have only 15 minutes, but I will try to be very quick as I can. I think just 10 minutes will be enough. So these are just some of the facts that we thought it would be good to share. That in Africa contributes only 4% of the total global emissions. All the greenhouse gases, Africa contributes only 4%. And in the other situation is that Africa has only 6% of farmland, which is under irrigations. In 94% is not under irrigations compared to the opportunity that we have, and compared to the almost 40% that is in Asia. And it's about 625 million people in Africa don't have access to modern energy. And during our last session, we discussed that I think in order to tackle these kind of problems related to climate change, we need to access those kind of modern energy and sustainable energy so that we can combat the problems related to climate change. So these are some of the data that we thought it would be good to be shared. And on the issues of climate finance, between 2020 to 2030, the estimated funding required for African NDCs, 51 out of 53 countries submitted the NDCs, and it was approximately that $2.8 trillion is required for those 10 years in order to fight for climate change and implement NDCs, which is about 93% of the Africa GDP. And for those amount that was submitted through NDCs, it's about 66% is for mitigation, while 24% is for adaptation, and 10% is for actions with dual benefits. When we say about dual benefits, means actions which has some element of mitigation and adaptation, which is the estimate is about $280 billion is required each year from 2020 to 2030 for African countries to implement their NDCs. And for if we're going to disaggregate in terms of region, is that Western Africa, that is where Europa is coming from. It's about 222.7 billion USD to implement their NDCs for the next 10 years. For Southern Africa, SACAU is estimates of $1.1 trillion to implement the NDCs. And for Central Africa, that's where ProPac is coming from, is around 370. And for Northern Africa, which is Yomnagri, to implement their NDCs is approximately $190 billion. And for Eastern Africa is about $830 billion to implement their NDCs. And from this is just a cost of implementing. These are the total cost of implementing the NDCs. And when you come to the area that I have shared this color, you can see this is a climate finance needs from international institutes, let's say donors and other powerful companies. And for this, this column is for public climate finance committed. Our governments have committed this much amount of money. And in terms of numbers, that the have committed 10% of the total cost that is required to implement their NDCs. And for this color, already this is from other sources, whether it's from companies, etc. So this is some amount of money that have been committed to be flowed in Africa. So in terms of during our last sessions, we proposed some solutions to implement so that we can combat climate change issues. And some of them is integrated water resource management, that we need to invest much to make sure that we manage our water resources. And the second one was on sustainable land use and forest management, such as deforestation and etc. And the third one was enhance the clean energy and energy efficiency. As we proposed that we can use wind power, we can use different types of sustainable energy in order to fight climate change. And of course, we propose that we can build the resilience of key infrastructure, such as irrigation infrastructure, in order to combat issues related to climate change. And For 2020, that is the specific year. We just opted for 2020 because it was very easier to get some data compared to 21 and 22. So the proposed amount for 2020 was 277 billion USD that is needed to be flown to Africa so that African countries can fight for issues related to climate change. From this much amount of money, only $30 billion was facilitated or was granted to African countries, which is 12% of the total amount needed. Out of that is $14.6 billion, which is 49 was for mitigation, while 11.4 billion, which is 39% was for adaptation, and $3.5 billion, which is 12%, was for dual benefits. Means there is some elements of mitigation and adaptation. And only 16 from these $30 billion, only 16% of the total climate finance that was directed in Africa went to AFOLU, which is agriculture, forestry, and other land use. So in agricultural sector and forestry, only got 16% of the total amount that was contributed for 2020. So you can see the amount money that we are given in the agricultural sector is still undermined. Yes. And this was the sum of the this was the sum of the proposed obstacles, or some of the challenges that AFDB, African Development Bank, and UNEP thought that African countries and all the private sectors are hindered to get those climate finances. So the first obstacles, they said that government and the private sector often lack the capacity to meet international standards and fund eligibility requirements. So there is this eligibility requirement that donors are required for either private sector or African countries to have, so that they can give the money. And they think many countries do not fully have those kind of requirements. And the second one was the relevant agencies often struggle with the governance and coordination in leveraging existing climate change resources. So they think that we don't have the full capacity in terms of governance and coordination to get this amount of money and implement those activities. And the third point was regulatory reforms and policies and related national development plans and investment priorities are weak in many African countries and many organizations and institutions. And the third one was there is a little explicit support for climate change efforts and there are human resource challenges. And the third one was the limited absorptive capacity of African countries to receive and manage funds, that we don't have the full capacity to manage a large amount of money that is being required for African countries to implement those different types of actions for climate change. And the sixth point was the fragmentation of existing funding instruments further aggravate the situation, that there is so many institutions, there is so many instruments that are dealing with the climate change. And in all these institutions, they have their own requirements. So sometimes it's very difficult for African countries and us as farm organizations and the other institutions to be fully eligible to all the institutions. So this is some of the overview of what is going on in terms of climate finance in Africa. And we are very thankful for your attention, and we're going to move to the next session.
Thank you so much, Obed, and you will be leading the next session again, unfortunately for you. So I will hand over to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share with you again my screen we're going to have 5 breakout rooms in terms of our region organizations. So I'm to share you my screen on what we are expecting you to go and discuss. Sorry.
So while he's sharing his screen, I want to just make an announcement that all the colleagues who are joining from different regions, you just join a group that for the region that you are coming from. Because I see that there could be other participants that are joining us today for the first time. So if you are coming from East Africa, you just join the EAF group. If coming from Central Africa, you join the proper. And then if you are coming from West Africa, you join the ROPA group. Then the other request that I'm going to make is for colleagues to mute themselves, because I can hear there's a little bit of noise here and there. If you are not the one speaking, to just please kindly mute yourself. Thank you. Over to you, Obedi.
Thank you, Tinashe. So we're going to discuss on issues related to accessing climate finance in Africa, as I said, and the time allocated is only 20 minutes. So the first question that we're going to discuss is, are we aware of any climate finance program in your region? So if, as Tinashe has already mentioned, that is, if it's in Africa, in East Africa, then you're going to EAF. If it's from West Africa, you're going to ROPA. So that is first question. And in these first questions, we need to be specifically to agricultural sector. So are you aware of any climate finance program in your region, specifically in the agricultural sector? And if yes, you can mention them. So this is just a template. So the first one was a climate finance program. You can mention it here, and overview of the program, or just a short brief of what the program is for. What is the program doing in your region? So if you have 3 or more, you can just add rows as much as you have them. So the second question will be, what is the general flow of funds? What is the general flow of funds? So this is just an overview of what is the general flow of funds, and is it for mitigation, adaptation, or for dual benefits, or both? Yes. And please mention the programs. If there is some programs, you can mention, yes. And the third one was, do we think we have capacity to access finance, handle disbursement, and what are the capacity gaps, if any? Not the gaps that I've already mentioned. That those are the gaps that I mentioned there were the gaps from the AFDB and UNEP. But in reality, do we have those gaps? And if any, you can mention them here. So you can add depending on the identified gaps. And the fourth question is, from the identified gaps above, what is the proposed way forward? Because we are not only discussing the problem, and we need to discuss the solution again. So what is the way forward from the identified gaps above? So these are 4 questions, and the 20 minutes, I think one question for 5 minutes is enough. Sorry, our time is very limited, but thank you. So I'm going to put those questions in the chats and in your breakout rooms.
Thanks, Obed. There was a question from Julian. If we have the questions in French, I'm not sure if we have those. But maybe Zuberi and Teki could assist with that.
So I'm creating the breakout room, so easily we can just translate them. Zuberi, you can use the DeepL and directly put them in the chat. We start with the breakout rooms, or we wait?
We can continue with the breakout rooms. We can translate while they're joining their breakout rooms. I've already shared the template for the discussion in English, so we can translate as fast as we can and submit it to the French-speaking group.
All right, so the same process, we are going to have 4 rooms. Also explained ROPA for Western Africa, EIFF, Eastern Africa, UMNAGRI, Northern Africa, and PROPAC, Central Africa. You are able to choose your room. We are starting the second, so please select the room you want to join and have fun. I see Ali Nafe. Which group would you like to join, Boniface? Let me.
Okay, I was checking. I will hope to see SACAU. So
SACAU. So East Africa maybe. SACAU is not there. So the Eastern Africa may be English speaking.
Okay, fine.
All right. Boniface, CPM. Daniel, let me know which room you want to join. Panja, I send it to the French speaking.
I think to find SACAU, but there is no SACAU there.
No SACAU. I see the SACAU
Is it
group
possible to add SACAU group?
I want me to add, okay? Okay. Let me see if it's possible.
Yes, and I can go to French speaking too.
Manja, you're not going anywhere.
Yes, yeah, no good.
Now it's no more possible to create a room. They're already started, so unfortunately.
I think what we need to do is just to colleagues from SACAU, those who are French speaking can go and join either ROPA or PROPAC because they are also French speaking. And those who are English speaking can join the EAF group.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, even UMNAGRI for French speaking, you can join because they are also, I think, speaking French. That's I saw. Those who are French speaking can join any of the 3. Those who are English speaking can join EAF.
So Fun G2, I will send you Fun G2 to EAF.
I'm trying to join French, but I'm not succeeding.
Josephine, okay, let me send you. Let me help you. So any French speaking or Western Africa, Northern Africa, or Central Africa? Josephine, I will send it to Central. Josephine, which group? Central Africa or North or Western? So let me send that to West Africa. I don't know.
Central Africa.
So that will be PROPAC, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm also observing that the UMNAGRI group is completely empty. There's nobody in the room there.
Yeah.
Hello.
Rodolphe, are you from UMNAGRI?
No, from PROPAC, Central Africa.
Okay.
PROPAC.
So I see, sorry, Tech, if I can, I see there's a question in the chats there to say, how do I join the group? So if you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see it's almost like in the middle of your screen if your screen is looking exactly like mine. Next to on the left of the interpretation button or on the right of the record button, you'll see where it says breakout rooms. So if you click there, you will see a window that comes with all the breakout rooms, and then from there you can join. You can choose the one you want to join.
Okay, thank you, Inashe. Zaturino, are you able to join?
Alternatively, you can click more. Some of the yeah, there's no one from online.
Completely no one.
I see CPN. Rina, which group do you want to join? Daniel? Fanja? I did not.
Oui, allô, bonjour tout le monde.
Okay, Daniel, which group
Oui,
should I?
oui.
Central Africa, West Africa?
Dans le groupe francophone, Madagascar.
So SACAU, right?
Yes,
SACAU.
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 Okay.
We don't have a SACAU group today. So
Okay.
please on either
maybe-
Western Africa or Northern Africa.
Is it
I think
possible to rename one of the breakout rooms? Maybe we can rename Umnagri since there's no participant in Umnagri breakout room. Can we rename the breakout room?
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
I think the French speaking can join the
Botswana, who
Right. Then I'm compatible. I think the other groups are coming okay.
yes, the problem is I'm not getting the points because there is no translation in breakout rooms. So I think I will wait for them during presentation so that I can get something to report back. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Unless otherwise we can cancel the
Okay.
rapporteur.
Are people joining now?
Yeah, I'm a bit worried to take because I see that there's
They are
still
not-
28 participants in the main room, and we are already losing more time.
Okay, so let's give 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, we close the rooms.
Okay.
So you can just click on the breakout rooms and join the room. If you are from East Africa, you can join EF. And if you are from ROPA, you are from West Africa, you can join ROPA. And if you're from Central Africa, you can join PROPAC. And if you're from Northern Africa, you can join Umnagri. While if you are from Southern Africa, I think we don't have option for Southern Africa. So from all people from Southern Africa, I think they are joining East Africa. And if you are French speaking, you can join any other group.
Obedi, before we had for Southern Africa, Umnagri, now I changed the name to SACAU. So there is an option of SACAU. Please join to SACAU, those who are from Southern Africa.
Thank you, Tech. Thank you for that.
Yeah, but the problem now is, are they going to start all over again or what? Because I think it was just going to be good for them to continue in the same groups for the
It's the
purposes
same
of...
group,
Oh,
just the name Umnagri is changed to SACAU.
No, now I get you. Thanks, Tech, for that.
Gunsham.
Gunsham is for SACAU.
Okay, so let me. Okay, already joined. Marcel Fiono. We only have now two people, Iman and Marcel remaining. So just tell me when we have to stop. It has been now 7 minutes. Obedi?
Yes.
So let me know if I have to stop the rooms.
Thank you.
But I suggest maybe you save time now in the discussion part and the Q&A part, or when presenting that they get only 2 minutes each group, or
I think where we can adjust is from rapporteur section. We can reduce some minutes there. Only 5 minutes enough. Then I think it's okay.
okay.
So welcome all. I think we have already discussed the topics on in our breakout rooms. I was able to join the East Africa Farmers Federation group, and I think others have already discussed in the PROPA and other groups. So now we
Betty, his internet is off.
We've lost you. Looks like it looks like
Yeah,
his internet is frozen.
You can proceed, Tinash, to assign which group is presenting first.
Yeah, I see he's now back. Obed, you can continue. It looks like we had lost you a bit.
Okay, now you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes. So Nukupiwa, you are proposing for breakout rooms a rapporteur to represent first?
Not really. We continue as per the program.
Okay. So Josephine Tangana, if you are ready, you can share with us your presentation of what you are doing in terms of climate finances so that we can share experiences. Zuberi and Insaf, can you help us with the presentation, to share the presentation?
I saw a hand from Kakiso. Meanwhile, maybe he can say whatever he wants to say as Josephine is
Hello?
getting ready.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Mike. Continue.
Oui, je voulais demander, est-ce qu'il s'agit de présenter la restitution des travaux?
Sorry, we are going to have the presentation from Josephine Atengana, then we're going to have feedback from the groups.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So Josephine, I see you. Are you ready? Oh, because of interest of time, so we can start with the presentation. So I think EF they're ready, and she can just join us later on. She can share the presentation later on.
Yes.
EF.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Yes,
so
sir.
for 5 minutes.
Can I continue?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. It's from East Africa, and it included Tanzania, Malawi, Botswana. Those were the countries which were participating. In regard to the first question, is there any climate finance program in our region? Looks like there is no program, and if there was an old program, and it is not part of what is happening now. It did not address things which are happening now. So actually, there's nothing there. On the general flow of funds that there are for either mitigation or for adaptation purposes, it was agreed that since we don't have any, we also cannot have that answer for the second question. The third one was on whether we've got the capacity to access finance, and whether in terms of disbursement there, and also the capacity gaps there. The answer to what people raised was that there were no programs, but capacity is there. And also, like, the Malawi, the Tanzania, it says no, a lot can be done, and people can be able to be in that position to be able to have that capacity. And also the way forward, that is the proposed way forward in terms of the gaps. They put forward very, I think good points that, if there can be an awareness that, there is this kind of funding for climate purposes, it will be good. And also let there be linkage to that climatic finance. And also they proposed that there should be working groups in farmers organization, and there should be a contact person that will be able to talk on climate issues and communicate those issues of their region, even to other, communicate within regions, those issues. And also they talked about having a policy framework that will be able to kind of help in terms of these issues that we're talking about. The other thing that they also raised was, let there be a committee of contact persons that will be able to be contacted and they give update on issues of climate finance. Thank you. That's all we had.
Thank you from East Africa. Thank you so much, Kagiso. I think we can continue with Ropa. And representative from Ropa, you are welcome to share with us what you have discussed.
Oui, bonjour à tous et à toutes. Ok, bonjour à tous et à toutes. Moi, c'est Crédit Sojo de la SECTOP et je suis le rapporteur du groupe de travail du ROPA. Pour ce qui est de la première question qui concerne la connaissance d'un programme de financement climatique dans la région, on a énuméré 2 programmes. Le premier programme, c'est le programme de résilience du système alimentaire en Afrique de l'Ouest, FSRP, financé par la Banque mondiale. Et ce programme a pour objectif d'accroître la préparation contre l'insécurité alimentaire et améliorer la résilience des systèmes alimentaires dans les pays participants. Et au nom de ces pays participants, nous avons le Burkina Faso, le Mali, le Niger, le Togo. Je dois rappeler qu'il s'agit de la première phase du programme qui sera après étendu à d'autres pays. Le second programme identifié est celui nommé e-Green-Fin du FIDA. Et c'est un programme qui vise à soutenir des banques agricoles et à donner du crédit à taux réduit pour soutenir les projets d'adaptation et d'atténuation dans les pays tels que le Ghana, le Mali, le Niger, la Côte d'Ivoire, le Burkina et le Sénégal. Donc, par rapport à la question 2, qui est de savoir s'il s'agit d'un programme visant l'atténuation, l'adaptation ou bien les deux, nous avons retenu que le premier programme s'inscrit dans la résilience. Et la résilience s'inscrit dans la logique de l'adaptation des systèmes agricoles face au changement climatique. Pour ce qui est du deuxième programme, le programme e-Green-Fin, il soutient des activités aussi bien sur le plan de l'adaptation, mais également de l'atténuation des effets du changement climatique. En ce qui concerne la troisième question, ce que nous avons retenu, c'est que les plateformes nationales d'organisation paysanne ont des difficultés pour accéder directement au financement de tout ce qui est projet, programme visant à limiter ou bien à faire face aux effets du changement climatique. Et ceci s'explique par le fait que généralement, les financements qui s'orientent dans l'ordre des programmes et projets liés au changement climatique interviennent par le biais des conventions que les gouvernements des pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest signent avec les institutions de la sous-région. Donc, c'est ce que nous avons retenu pour ce qui est du travail de groupe dans la zone de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Merci.
Thank you so much, representative from Ropa. Sorry, I will not pronounce your name because I will mistake it. So I think we're going to have the third one from Umnagri. No, from Propac. I think from Propac. Any representative from Propac?
Ok, bonjour à tout le monde. Oui, je suis Mike Atangana. Je vais présenter les résultats de nos travaux de groupe. En ce qui concerne la question 1, avez-vous connaissance d'un programme de financement climatique dans votre région, secteur agricole? Nous avons cité 3 programmes, l'Agroécologique Fund, qui concerne la transition agroécologique comme solution au changement climatique. Il y a le Top-Off FIDA, qui est intégré dans le plan stratégique du FIDA et qui est dédié au changement climatique. Nous avons également le projet de recherche, action, élevage agroécologique du poulet local, précoute, qui bénéficie de l'appui de l'AFD et de l'Agricole comme solution au changement climatique. Sur la question du plus général des fonds, on n'a pas une idée globale des fonds qui sont destinés, mais généralement, lorsque ces fonds arrivent, c'est pour des solutions d'adaptation. Ce sont les programmes que nous avons mentionnés plus haut. En termes de lacunes éventuelles, nous pensons que en termes de capacité, effectivement, nous avons accès à certains financements à travers les partenaires tels que le SUDA, l'FD, Agricole, comme on l'a cité, on l'a mentionné plus haut. Et comme faiblesse, il y a des faiblesses en termes d'apport de cofinancement aux programmes dédiés au changement climatique. Il y a également les difficultés d'accès à l'information pour les organisations paysannes et la faible mobilisation des ressources pour le climat. Comme marche à suivre proposée, nous avons proposé le renforcement institutionnel, de poursuivre le renforcement institutionnel et organisationnel des organisations paysannes, la constitution des consortiums, et le renforcement des compétences humaines. Voilà, c'est ce que nous avons fait comme travaux de groupe. Merci.
Thank you so much, Mike, for your good presentation. Now we can move to SACAU and a representative from Hell. You're welcome. Any representative from SACAU? The rapporteur from SACAU?
Fanja, do we still have Fanja?
Yes, it's Mian who present our work.
Okay.
But okay, Meandre, say Meandre.
Can you hear the screen?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you, Fanja.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Fanja. Good morning once again. I'm going to speak French. Sorry. Donc, pour notre groupe, nous avons pu identifier 4 projets, programmes de financement pour le changement climatique. Nous avons le Fonds vert pour le climat, dont l'objectif est la réduction de l'émission de gaz à effet de serre. Nous avons également l'initiative de l'AFR 100, qui constitue un défi de reboisement, de restauration des paysages de 100 millions d'hectares dans toute l'Afrique. On a également le projet Leading the Change, dirigé par WWF, qui se focalise sur la conservation de la biodiversité, la gouvernance locale des ressources naturelles. Ce projet se concentre surtout sur la protection des mangroves et aussi sur la multiplication des activités d'atténuation. Et dernièrement, nous avons le projet, le mécanisme FFR, Forest and Farm, it is Forest and Farm Facility. Il s'agit de l'appui des organisations des producteurs forestiers et agricoles dans leur activité de production et surtout dans l'exploitation forestière. Quels sont les flux généraux des fonds? Donc, dans tous ces projets, tout se focalise dans le cadre de l'adaptation et de l'atténuation. Pour la troisième question, nous pensons que nous avons la capacité d'accéder au financement seulement. Nous avons quelques problèmes. Premièrement, sur l'accès à l'information. Ceci est un cas typique pour quelques pays qui ne sont pas priorisés dans le financement, qui ne sont pas également aussi impliqués dans toutes les stratégies comme la CDN. Qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Donc, quelles sont les solutions pour résoudre tous ces problèmes? Nous avons donc identifié que la première solution consiste à renforcer le plaidoyer auprès des partenaires et l'État pour mieux être impliqués dans les organisations paysannes et surtout pour être impliqués également dans tous les processus et stratégies concernant le changement climatique. Voilà, merci. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meandri. So I was getting a problem with my network. So thank you so much, Meandri. We have any representative from Umnagri? Do you have any representative from Umnagri? And Josephine, are you ready to share your presentation?
I have the presentation for Josephine.
Je peux partager l'écran?
Joséphine, je vais vous aider à partager l'écran si vous voulez. Ah, voilà.
Je ne sais pas cette présentation. C'est mon partage, c'est le vôtre. Un instant. Bonsoir à tous. Il m'a été demandé de faire une présentation sur le financement climat en Afrique centrale. Donc, après le travail qu'on a déjà eu à faire depuis les principales opportunités de financement que je vais évoquer ici pour l'Afrique centrale sont essentiellement les financements tels que les fonds pour l'environnement mondial, le fonds d'adaptation, le fonds d'investissement du climat et puis le fonds climat vert et puis de mécanismes tels que le RED+, qui ont été mis en place et puis l'énergie propre. Et aussi, en Afrique centrale, de plus en plus, les gouvernements se sont penchés sur la question pour mettre en place des financements à travers les dépenses publiques. Et ceux-ci sont intégrés dans les budgets nationaux. Malgré cela, il y a un grand nombre de failles parce que les financements ne sont pas adaptés à l'importance du phénomène tel qu'il est vécu et les financements n'arrivent pas toujours aux bénéficiaires, parmi lesquels les organisations paysannes, malgré le fait que ce sont les organisations paysannes qui sont celles qui sont le plus proches des forêts. Vous savez que l'Afrique centrale est une zone qui abrite le bassin du Congo. Et donc, le plus grand poumon en termes de protection de la température dans le monde. Et nous allons un peu nous pencher sur un exemple tel que celui du Fonds vert, qui a été institué par 194 gouvernements et lancé en 2011. Le Fonds vert, ce mécanisme financier de la Convention cadre des Nations Unies sur les changements climatiques. Et il a pour but de limiter et de réduire les émissions de gaz à effet de serre dans les pays en développement et notamment en Afrique centrale. Le but étant essentiellement qu'on se limite entre 1,5 et 2 degrés de température en termes de réchauffement. C'est le but que les actions du Fonds vert poursuivent. Et les actions qui sont financées en Afrique centrale concernent essentiellement l'atténuation et l'adaptation. Pour ce qui concerne l'atténuation, je vais commencer par l'atténuation. Nous avons la production et l'accès à l'énergie, c'est-à-dire que les programmes et les projets qui sont financés concernent essentiellement la production et l'accès à l'énergie. Les transports, avec le développement des transports en commun pour limiter l'augmentation des véhicules qui sont très polluants. Nous avons les forêts et l'utilisation des terres. Donc, en Afrique centrale, il y a une grande promotion des forêts communautaires. Il y a aussi les questions d'aménagement des bâtiments, des villes et des industries et des appareillages pour pouvoir avoir des programmes dans ce sens-là, pour avoir des financements. C'est surtout dans ces secteurs-là qu'on retrouve les propositions. Maintenant, en termes d'adaptation, les programmes les plus financés sont dans le secteur de la santé, l'alimentation, la sécurité hydrique, donc les questions de l'eau, les moyens de subsistance des personnes et des communautés. C'est là où on retrouve essentiellement les projets agricoles, parce que un grand nombre de la population, plus de 60%, se consacrent à l'agriculture. Donc, le financement climat intervient beaucoup dans les aspects agricoles, avec petit à petit l'introduction de l'aspect de l'agroécologie. Nous avons aussi l'environnement, l'immobilier, les infrastructures et puis l'écosystème qui sont des aspects qui sont financés. Bon, je vais peut-être pas insister sur les bénéficiaires. On va passer sur les bénéficiaires parce que ce sont essentiellement pour les grands fonds, les gouvernements qui sont les bénéficiaires et puis les grandes institutions qui ont accès de manière directe. Nous, les organisations paysannes et la société civile, nous bénéficions à travers des structures telles que le FIDA, le PNUD, la BAD, la Banque mondiale pour certains pays. Donc, pour ce qui concerne les priorités, on a la transformation de la production et l'accès à l'énergie, avec des aspects comme promouvoir les énergies renouvelables avec le solaire, par exemple. Et particulièrement en agriculture, dans le petit outillage, on a le séchage, la promotion des matériaux de séchage avec des équipements solaires. Au niveau urbain et périurbain, il y a la création des villes climato-compatibles. Donc, on voit aussi, pour ce qui nous concerne particulièrement dans les organisations paysannes, le développement des jardins dans les villes, les jardins scolaires. Et puis, on encourage aussi l'agriculture à faible émission de carbone avec l'insistance sur les approches et les valeurs agroécologiques. Et puis, la promotion des financements à grande échelle pour les forêts et les changements favorables au changement climatique avec des solutions telles que l'agroforesterie. Quand on parle d'agroforesterie, ici, on parle essentiellement des vergers, donc la culture des arbres fruitiers, et aussi pour certaines cultures telles que le mélange entre le cacao, le café, les arbres fruitiers. Certaines entités qu'on peut retrouver qui financent en Afrique centrale, on a essentiellement ici sur cette liste des organisations qui sont basées aux États-Unis, au Nigeria, au Maroc, dans d'autres pays. On n'a pas beaucoup d'institutions qui sont officiellement installées en Afrique centrale, mais quand même on en a quelques-unes qui financent en Afrique centrale. On a par exemple l'AFD qu'on peut retrouver sur cette liste. On a la BAD, je l'avais déjà mentionné. Pour nous, particulièrement au niveau de la PROPAC, on a une grande opportunité avec le FIDA qui est accrédité au Fonds pour l'adaptation vert. Et le FIDA, entre 2019 et 2021, a mobilisé 283 millions de dollars auprès de ces fonds-là, ce qui est une grande opportunité pour nous. Et nous avons eu à travailler avec le FIDA sur ces aspects-là, notamment concernant le top-up et les activités en cours dans le cadre du FO4 permettent de continuer sur la lancée de la transition agroécologique. Et le FIDA compte poursuivre cette mobilisation de fonds-là pour encourager l'agroécologie comme solution pour l'adaptation et la mitigation des changements climatiques. Je vais passer aux vulnérabilités. Quels sont les principaux problèmes que nous connaissons en Afrique centrale? Il y a la non-maîtrise des procédures. Pour accéder au financement climat, nous avons beaucoup de difficultés sur les procédures. Nous avons les lourdeurs même dans les procédures, ce qui amène actuellement à un plaidoyer pour que les procédures d'accès au financement climat soient plus adaptées et plus accessibles aux organisations paysannes. Parce que souvent, les taux demandés pour les cofinancements sont énormes. Et la liste des documents à produire est énorme pour les organisations paysannes qui ne sont pas toujours dotées de compétences suffisantes. Et nous avons aussi cette question d'insuffisance de fonds. La gouvernance qui est parfois caractérisée d'insuffisante par rapport au degré d'excellence sollicité par les bailleurs de fonds. Et il y a aussi cette non-implication des parties prenantes dans les processus de prise de décision. Alors, face à toutes ces limites-là, quelles sont les opportunités? Il y a la structuration des organisations paysannes et la société civile en grands groupes. Nous avons par exemple la PAFO au niveau continental. Nous avons AFRONET, qui est le réseau pour l'agriculture organique. Nous avons AFSA, qui est l'Alliance africaine pour la souveraineté alimentaire. Donc, nous pouvons nous constituer en consortium, en alliance, être plus fort pour aller chercher les fonds et renforcer ainsi les demandes qui viennent de l'Afrique centrale à travers le soutien et la solidarité de groupe. Nous avons des appels à projets et programmes ouverts au consortium. Récemment, par exemple, le CORAF a publié un appel dans ce sens-là. Nous avons la mobilisation des États sur la question climatique, c'est-à-dire que les gouvernements de l'Afrique centrale sont assez favorables et sensibles aux questions climatiques. Ils sont ouverts à le faire. Seulement, la difficulté, c'est dans la cohérence entre les que nous devons aussi mettre en avant ici pour que les politiques soient cohérentes entre ce que nous faisons pour les systèmes alimentaires que nous mettons en œuvre et ce que nous faisons pour la protection de l'environnement. Parce qu'on constate un gap entre ce qui est mené dans les ministères de l'environnement et ce qui est mené dans les ministères de l'agriculture. Parfois, les uns ne tiennent pas compte des autres. Et puis, il y a aussi le renforcement des capacités, qui est une opportunité parce que les organisations de la société civile et les organisations paysannes travaillent à se renforcer, à améliorer leurs compétences, à rechercher des partenariats très activement. Donc, en guise de conclusion, nous allons dire que nous avons l'agroécologie qui est une opportunité et il y a des financements auxquels nous pouvons postuler. Nous avons le secteur public et le secteur privé qui doivent pouvoir collaborer. Et nous avons aussi les ressources publiques consacrées à l'action climatique qui doivent pouvoir augmenter. Et ça, c'est un travail de plaidoyer que nous mettons en œuvre parmi les organisations paysannes pour augmenter la ressource publique directement aussi aux organisations paysannes et à la société civile. Parce que c'est mieux que nous puissions agir par nous-mêmes à travers les ressources que nous pouvons recevoir. Je vous remercie. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josephine, for this wonderful presentation and sharing of experiences. So we're going to, because of time, we're going to have only 10 to 15 minutes to interact. If you have any question, any recommendation, any feedback from all the presentation, from this presentation of Josephine to all other presentations from our regional farm organization that we have already presented, please feel free. I'm going to give this the moderation opportunity to Nokupiwa to host this short session. Nokupiwa. Hello, Nuku.
Yes, thank you, Obed. Can you please stop sharing the screen, Mike? And thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I think from the groups we have discussed a lot about climate finance, and we have also seen the challenges. From what I'm discovering is that there are some farmer organizations that have access to climate finance, and there are some organizations that do not have access to climate finance. But I think from what we are discussing here will be maybe to see the position of farmers organization. Josephine has already highlighted some. What is the position for us as farmers organization to access climate finance? May I open the room for your suggestions and proposals, of course. So go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I would propose that we have working groups in our regions, which we can coordinate very well between ourselves and communicate and see what the best way is possible. And that working group can work step by step towards accessing finance for the region. Every farmer organization individually, but we work together and coordinate it. So we make sure that we all get the access to the financing. But apart from that, the same working groups from the farmer organizations can be can share different ideas and different experiences between themselves, and also apart from that, to work together to harmonize the policies in the regions. So the policies for Tanzania and its neighbors should not be different. We can be the voices of the farmers to our governments and to the region, and we work together to make sure that all the policies are harmonized and they're almost similar. So we can we would have a stronger voice, and if we work and give examples from our neighbors from the region, it would also help, instead of giving examples of people who are outside our continent or outside of our region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other suggestions and additions from the other groups? Anyone? Tinashe?
Yes, thanks, Nokubio. What I wanted to say, I think there's need maybe for us to distinguish between climate finance that can be accessed by, for example, farmers organizations and other civil society organizations, and the climate finance that is channeled through national governments. Because what I think is happening is that most of the funds are actually channeled, especially the United Nations processes and all that. Most of the funds are actually channeled through national governments. So it will be now dependent on whether the governments are actually going to allocate those funds to farmers organizations and many other entities that are also looking for the same. So I don't think that we can entirely say there are no climate finance programs. It's just my thinking here to say there isn't funds completely. I think it's just how the funds are being channeled. Was like I said, most of the United Nations processes, the funds are channeled through national governments, but they don't prescribe to the governments as to how that money is supposed to be used. Thanks. Over to you, Nokupio.
You are making a valid point. And on the presentation for Josephine, on the challenges, she talked about co-financing. She also talked about the qualification required by farmer organizations to adhere to those calls. I don't know, maybe I wanted just few reactions on that, on those constraints. Because from here we want to see where we can take this thing from PAFO for the opportunities. What capacity do we need for us from PAFO that can assist us to make ourselves in a better position to access climate finance? I don't know. Is my question clear?
I think you can repeat it again, Nuku.
The question is, what capacity gaps or structures that we can recommend? Josephine has already recommended restructuring. What is it? Where do we see that we need to start as farmers organizations to put ourselves in a better position to access finance? So now it's me and you, Tinashe.
I would recommend, as the said, that if we work together and coordinate, and I believe, like as for Tanzania, when we talk of climate financing from the UN agencies and all, but even through the government, because even the government is looking for partners and people to work with. We would have already known if there's such financing. The only problem I feel that we are not coordinated. We are not working together as a region, as a team. And if we could work step by step in working groups, I'm very sure we can give experiences between each country from our area. And then we would know where we stand. And that can be done with the working groups. And the capacity is there, that I'm very sure of. But the access to the financing, even from these international organizations like UNFCCC and all that, it is on agriculture. Mainly when they say the financing, you will have very small pockets of financing, maybe on forests or just in the reserve forests, how to take care of them. Like in Tanzania now, we have with the Middle East, countries from the Middle East are going to finance the government and help assist in taking care of the forest. But that is for carbon trade, for the exchange of carbon, which they have to apply to adhere to. So they're working with African countries and countries from the Middle East to exchange in return for help in conserving the forests and all. But on the ground and in agriculture or livestock as such, I do believe that we have nothing.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Mike, do you want to chip in?
Yes, it's
désolé,
it's Josephine. It's Josephine.
Okay, you can go ahead, Josephine.
Yes, elle a demandé quelles sont les compétences que nous devons améliorer en tant qu'organisation paysanne. Nous devons, par exemple, avoir une bonne compréhension des critères d'éligibilité des programmes et des projets. Parfois, nous avons notre façon de comprendre les critères, mais ce n'est pas toujours la même chose pour les institutions qui financent. Nous devons nous approprier leur compréhension des termes, même en termes d'adaptation. Vous avez vu dans la présentation, on a par exemple ce qu'ils considèrent comme adaptation. Donc, quand on lance un projet et qu'on met par exemple l'accent sur l'adaptation, il ne faudrait pas confondre des actions d'adaptation aux actions d'atténuation suivant la compréhension du bailleur. Donc, parfois, ça peut être mixé dans notre compréhension. Donc, avec le bailleur, c'est pour ça que certains bailleurs organisent souvent des ateliers sur les appels à candidature. Avant qu'on ne puisse écrire le projet, on dit peut-être 2 ou 1 mois avant, venez à poser toutes sortes de questions. Il faudrait souvent qu'on assiste à ces ateliers-là pour bien comprendre, avoir la compréhension harmonisée des termes entre le bailleur et nous. Il y a la question des audits, par exemple, au niveau financier. Ça, c'est un aspect très important pour ceux qui financent. Et parfois, les bailleurs ont des exigences particulières dans les travaux d'audit qu'ils demandent, qui parfois ne sont pas demandés par nos bailleurs actuels. Et lorsque nous arrivons, nous postulons, nous ne répondons pas aux critères. C'est pour ça qu'on parle d'un renforcement des capacités. Peut-être qu'on va même dire un renforcement des capacités adaptées. Il y a la question d'information, avoir la bonne information au bon moment. Et il y a la question, par exemple, nous avons eu une formation dernièrement sur les critères d'agriculture intelligente face au climat. Il y a des bailleurs qui sont plus axés sur des aspects d'agriculture smart. D'autres vont vous dire agriculture climato-intelligente. D'autres vont vous dire agroécologie. Donc, il faut renforcer les capacités parmi les personnels et ceux qui recherchent les programmes sur tous ces aspects-là. C'est quoi l'agriculture climato-intelligente? C'est quoi la permaculture? C'est quoi l'agroécologie? de sorte que nous ayons la compréhension, la même compréhension que celui qui présente l'appel au financement. L'autre chose, c'est la mobilisation dont nous avons parlé. Se mettre en consortium permet effectivement que ce qui est de l'expérience de SACAU puisse concourir à la réussite d'un appel à financement au niveau du repas ou au niveau de la PROPAT. Donc, c'est un peu cela qu'on met dans le renforcement des capacités. Merci.
Thank you so much, Josephine. Due to the interest of time, may I not allow more hands for this session? And can I hand over the session back to Tinashe? For myself and from my side, I believe if we can work together with experts like Josephine, we can be talking another different story for funds being channeled towards farmers, because as we can see that most of the funds, there are a lot of climate funds, but those that are going to the farmers, they are very limited. I think Obedi and Josephine has already highlighted that, but still, there is still an opportunity for us to work together and to ensure that we do help our farmers to adapt and mitigate to climate change. Over to you, Tinashe. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Nokupio. We were supposed to have taken a health break, but I think we can just continue so that we finish. We have about 17 minutes for us to conclude. So with your indulgence, I think we can just continue so that we finish without having to take a healthy break. But it's now Obedi who is supposed to do just a quick summary, I think.
Yes, I'm going to do a quick summary of what we have discussed so far. It will be very, very short because of interest of time. So I'm going to give you just a general summary of what we have discussed in terms of climate finance for agricultural sector in Africa. So in terms of climate finance programs in Africa, there is no many programs for climate finance in Africa in many breakout rooms or regional farm organizations. They have identified, if you go to EF, they said there is no climate finance programs at all. At least from Malawi, which is, I think, technically is from SACAU or Southern Africa side. And in other ways, different programs, they were mentioned that there is a Green Climate Fund, which is specifically for adaptation. This was from Malawi. And the other one is for Program for Food Resilience, which is financed by World Bank for West Africa. Provide the other one is from IFAD, which is specifically to provide the agricultural loan dealing with the climate change, and this is from West Africa. We have agroecology, which is financed by IFAD. We have programs and the projects from AgriCode, which is specifically from Western Central Africa. We have WWF, which is for mitigation. We have FFF, Farmers and Forestry Facility, which is from Madagascar and Southern African region. Oh, so this is just some of the programs, but what I have observed is that maybe, and this is just maybe, we are not much aware of the programs that we have in our countryside, or the programs that we have are not much announced publicly, so that farm organization to be aware of. And many programs from this summary, many programs, they were seen that they are for adaptation compared to the mitigation. They are either adaptation or dual benefits, but mostly is for adaptation, as you can see what I've mentioned above. And from the identified capacity gaps and challenges, in many ways, there is no capacity gaps in terms of climate finance management and implementation of different projects. There is no such kind of capacity gaps. That is from what people they were mentioned, that if the funds flow to the hands of national farm organization, there is a capacity, there is experience of managing and implementing those kind of projects. And there is some challenges that were mentioned, and these are that organizations or countries are not eligible to many projects that are announced there, you can find that the project is announced and you have problems related to climate change. Let's say you are from Malawi, you are from Madagascar, but you are not eligible to apply to those projects. And the other challenge is that the programs are not friendly for farm organization to access. There is a lot of qualifications, requirements, terms and conditions that are not friendly for farm organization to access those kind of funds. And way forward, and these are just some of the identified challenges. Because of interest of time, some I wasn't able to capture them all.
It looks like Obed is frozen again.
Farm organizations and
Obedi, unmute yourself. Okay, go now. You are muted, Obedi, if you can hear me.
Obed, you are muted. You are muted.
Sorry, now you can hear me, yeah?
Yes.
So the fourth point was to create, review, and restructure policy framework that will enable farm organizations to access those kind of funds. And the fifth point that was mentioned by almost all the regional farm organization is that we as a farm organization, we can build consortiums, just like from East Africa, from Southern Africa, or from Africa as a whole, and create the working group that will be tasked for the accessing climate finances. And through these consortiums, we can also exchange experiences on how other farm organizations are accessing the climate finance. So that is all that I was able to capture during your presentation.
Thanks so much, Obed. I think we are probably back where we started by saying it's not easy to access these funds because of the requirements that they always put there. But what I want to maybe advise us in line with what Obed has also presented is that in as much as we say we have the capacity to handle these funds and all that, but I also think that as farmers organizations, we still have to strengthen our governance systems, and especially to do with the finances, and make sure that we are always up to date, and make sure that when we apply for these funds, at least our houses are in order, so that they don't find too many things that are going to hinder us from accessing these funds. Then the other thing I also wanted to discuss is, like I said, we are back where we started to say, I think we still need to lobby and advocate for reform of these financiers, to say why they don't make it a little bit easier for especially startup organizations and those organizations with no track record, because sometimes they ask for you to present audited statements for the previous, I don't know how many years, which we may not have, and that will be actually a technical knockout for you. So I think reforming of these processes is still a necessity. How we are going to do that, I think let's continue participating in the United Nations Framework Convention on climate change processes, and make sure that we send one message from Africa to COP, to say this is what we want to see happening in future. It was also interesting to see that there's a lot of funding streams flowing into Central Africa. I think they should tell us more about the recipe they are using to to achieve that, And because I see that there are a lot of organizations that are funding them. So that's the reason why we actually had this session, to learn from each other. I think we need to continue the conversations and make sure that we also learn from them as to how they are accessing this. The last thing that I'm going to say, I recognize you, Fred. I will give you an opportunity after I finish. The other thing that I thought we needed to talk about is the accreditation processes. Because we see that for you to be able to access certain funding streams, you have to be accredited. Are we really aware of the accreditation processes? And if we are not aware, what do we need to do about it, so that at least as farmers organizations, we are accredited with so many sort of source of funding that we can, because once you are accredited, I think it automatically means it becomes easier for you to access, or at least to respond to calls or proposal from these organizations. So in short, what I'm going to say is that we still have a long road ahead of us. And I think we've started well, coming together to talk and maybe map the way forward together as to how we can improve in accessing, finance. I will quickly give Fred an opportunity to say what he wants to, but please kindly be very, very, very short. We have 5 minutes left only, and we still need to do the evaluation of the moderation. Thanks. Over to you, Fred.
Merci beaucoup pour la parole. J'aimerais d'abord m'excuser pour le retard avec lequel j'ai pris la réunion. J'étais dans d'autres obligations. Et donc là, je voulais revenir seulement sur donner une information sur les différents programmes qui financent la lutte contre le changement climatique. Ici, par exemple, en Afrique centrale, parce que j'ai vu parmi les programmes qui sont cités là-bas, on ne trouve pas le programme qu'on appelle CAFI. CAFI, c'est l'initiative pour la forêt de l'Afrique centrale. L'initiative pour la forêt de l'Afrique centrale, ou soit en anglais, on peut dire Central African Forest Initiative. Donc, c'est le CAFI. Alors, le CAFI, au niveau de l'Afrique centrale, aussi dispose beaucoup de financements, beaucoup de fonds. Par exemple, pour la RDC, cette année ici, donc, il a été signé des accords qui vont jusqu'à 500 millions de dollars. Et alors, il faut soumissionner à des projets. On a fait des appels à manifestation d'intérêt. Il faut soumissionner. Et nous-mêmes ici au niveau de la RDC, CONAPAC, a soumissionné ensemble avec EAFF, mais malheureusement, on n'a pas été sélectionné. Alors, donc, c'est pour dire que nous devons être renforcés en capacité pour voir comment nous pouvons accéder à ces différents financements. Et c'est vraiment des gros financements. Et nous, au niveau de la RDC, nous avons toujours fait un plaidoyer pour dire, vous ne pouvez pas mettre en place des programmes de lutte contre le changement climatique et que vous ne travaillez pas avec les agriculteurs, puisqu'on dit que l'agriculture donc fait partie des moteurs de déforestation. Et donc, on ne peut pas concevoir des programmes qui travaillent sur la lutte contre le changement climatique et qui ignorent les agriculteurs. Donc, on doit continuer à travailler sur le renforcement des capacités de nos organisations afin que nous puissions accéder à ces différents financements. Donc, ça, c'est juste le point que je voulais ajouter en ce qui concerne l'Afrique centrale. Donc, cette région couvre le Cameroun, la RDC, le Congo, Brazzaville, il y a le Gabon, et le Centrafrique, ainsi de suite. Donc, c'est une possibilité de pouvoir aussi accéder au financement, comme on peut les citer parmi les différents programmes. Voilà juste le petit point que je voulais faire à la connaissance. Merci.
Thanks so much, Fred, for that addition. I see, Obed, you have your hand raised, or you are muted.
Sorry, it's just there was some the recommendation from G2. He was proposing if we can we have a WhatsApp group so that we can start discussing what we have discussed here.
Yeah, point taken. I think it's a good idea.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Obed. Yeah, so now I'll hand over to Teki and probably Zuberi to do the evaluation. Over to you, Teki or Zuberi.
Thank you, Tinashe. I've already started sharing the evaluation. There are only 3 questions, multiple choice. please give your rating to the 3 questions, just 2 minutes or even less minutes. Thank you. Back to you, Tinashe or Bedi.
Thanks, Teki. We have heard from Teki that we need to do an evaluation quickly. So if you can quickly help us with that, it helps us to improve next time if there are areas that we need to improve on. Thank you, and over to you.
Tinashe, can we have the group photo after this?
I don't know. It's probably Zuberi to help us with that. Zuberi, if you are hearing me, maybe we can have I don't know whether it's called a group photo because we are scattered all over. So I don't know.
Actually, I was about to ask you to put on the camera so that we can take a photo for today's session.
But still with the evaluation, have we completed? Because
I see many people are not answering. Please just
please.
click. It's good feedback for SACAU, for us. Could be nice if you participate, please. Thank you.
Okay. So please put on your camera so that we can take a group photo. S'il vous plaît, mettez vos caméras pour qu'on puisse prendre des photos.
Yeah, we can try to smile a bit even if we are hungry. I think just warn us once you are done, Zuberi, so that we...
Yeah, I'm having a few people who have not put their cameras yet, but I think now give me like 2 seconds and then I will be done.
They are probably not there, it's just their names there.
Yeah, so we are good. Thank you so much.
And Teki, how are we doing with the evaluation?
Yeah, only few people answered, but the time is running. So maybe those who have answered it, you can say goodbye. And those who would like to support the program, would be nice to evaluate. Only 13 people have answered.
Sorry, Teki. The suggestion that we need a WhatsApp group. I think there are some people that have already started to share their numbers, their WhatsApp numbers. So we can wait just 3 or 2 minutes if it's okay.
Right. Yes, please. Yeah. Okay.
So once that is done, I think we can call it a day. And thank you so much for participating in the meeting. I think we all learned 1 or 2 things from this session. Otherwise, until then, cheerio.
Take Obedi, Tinashe, Zuberi.
Au revoir.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Au revoir.
Merci. Au revoir.
Au revoir, tout le monde.
Au revoir.
Can we have 5 more minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Lamine, tu es là. Lamine.
Zuberi, can you stop recording?